Now, given Australia has been hailed the world over as a COVID prevention success story, it's hardly surprising the recent lockdowns across Sydney, Victoria and South Australia have attracted coverage overseas. Britain's Telegraph covered it early this week, quoting someone many of us would have heard from. The government drank their own Kool-Aid and thought that they had the answers, said this Australian authority apparently, when other comparable countries spread the risks by backing many options. The quote was from Bill Bowtell, and he was cited as an adjunct professor in infection and immunity at the University of New South Wales. An adjunct professor in infection and immunity, eh? Bill Bowtell was a chief of staff to the former Labor Federal Health Minister Neil Blewett in the 1980s, a political advisor who oversaw the communication strategy in response to the AIDS epidemic. He also was a political advisor to former Prime Minister Paul Keating in the 90s. He's prolific on social media and has constantly castigated the federal government for its COVID response. I don't think he said anything ever that said that they'd got anything right. The federal government had got anything right in this pandemic management, not from Bill Bowtell anyway. So unsurprisingly, he's the go-to commentator for some in the media, especially the ABC. But as Adam Schwab from the Crikey website pointed out earlier this month, Bowtell describes himself as adjunct professor at UNSW and a strategic health policy consultant in global health and development. Schwab goes on to say, if you were thinking that meant Bowtell has accredited medical qualifications, you'd be wrong. While the media regularly refers to him as an infectious disease expert, Billy from marketing is nothing of the sort. In fact, his only academic qualification appears to be a political science and government degree obtained in 1975, his professorship being an honorary one. Yep, Bowtell has a lowly arts degree, like mine. Not a medical expert at all. Here's his LinkedIn entry, an arts degree focused on politics from the University of Tasmania. Yet that doesn't stop Bowtell from incessantly offering opinion on everything COVID-related, whether it be lockdowns, border closures, vaccination rollout, transmission rates, the whole shooting match. But in many of these matters, his opinions, it's worth about as much as any other layperson's. So why would the media build him up to be something he's not?
Leading infection control expert Bill Bowtell, who is currently in self-isolation.
A short time ago, I spoke with Bill Bowtell, a leading professor in infection control from the University of New South Wales.
One health expert is lashing the government's response, warning the crisis is far worse than we're being told. Professor Bill Bowtell is a leading infectious diseases.
Yeah, leading infectious diseases expert, hey? There's plenty more. ABC News host Lisa Miller has referred to virus expert Bill Bowtell, and her co-presenter Michael Rowland referred to one of this country's leading infection control experts, Bill Bowtell. Seriously? Is this the public broadcaster pushing fake news or talking up coalition critics? Or both? Still, it spreads wider. The New Daily's political editor Josh Butler referred to an important point from Kirby Institute infectious diseases expert Bill Bowtell. And the Canberra Times this week also referred to infectious diseases expert Bill Bowtell. You've heard it so many times. Trust is vital in managing public health. And what can really damage trust is media presenting commentators as something they're not. For some organisations, Bowtell's incessant attacks against the government seem to make up for his lack of medical qualifications. And they don't seem dissuaded at all by his polarised political views. Take, for example, a letter he wrote to Quarterly Essay in 2007, in which he danced on John Howard's political grave and said the former Prime Minister grew more determined to govern from the extreme right, using the tried and tested techniques of fostering division, discord and fear. Bowtell wrote that, like George Bush, Howard was a master of wedge politics, and he inflamed public opinion against convenient scapegoats, Muslims, Aboriginals, homosexuals and single mothers, while pretending to speak for mainstream values. Wow, what unhinged bile. No wonder Bowtell loves Twitter. Why would the media pass off as an infectious diseases expert someone who has no medical qualifications? And why would they use as a commentator on pandemic public policy a former Labor government advisor who demonstrates such extreme anti-coalition bias. The era of fake news and deceptive commentary is a long way from over.